And then there was a guy, I don't know if you remember this, he just came out in like a gorilla suit, and he was eating a banana, and I lost to him. I'm like, oh, this is getting worse by the minute.
A lot of improvising when you do your act and stand-up because you have more material.
Yeah.
So you hone your stuff and you craft it.
Yeah, I write an act. Yeah,
You write an act,
Yes.
and every word is important to you.
Yes.
But this is not about that. This
Throw
test,
that out the window.
You're throwing it out the window.
Okay.
I'm Tim Slagle. This is Stand Up, Sit Down. That was Howie Mandel on Last Comic Standing. If you've maybe have forgotten who that was, and he was talking to my guest Rocky LaPorte on how to do stand-up comedy. It's welcome to Stand Up, Sit Down, Rocky.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
That was very contained.
Yeah.
It's I would have wanted to let him have it.
Yeah. That's so typical Hollywood, though. Like they go, oh, like you're Italian and you do this, and they go, yeah, and they go, okay, we want you to play a 4-foot guy on an acrobat. Like they totally, you know what I mean? Like they say, well, we love who you are, but we want you to do this, and it's like he was trying to teach me improv, and I go, I do an act, like I write jokes, you know?
Yeah.
He goes, well, we're not going to do that today. I'm like, well, all right.
It was Mitch Hedberg had a line about that. He said it's really weird. Is you work on your stand up, then you go to Hollywood and they say, "Can you act?" It's like saying, "Oh, you're a pretty good farmer. Can you cook?"
Yeah, exactly. That's Hollywood.
How was that? How was Last Comic Standing? Did you enjoy your time there, or was it?
To be honest, Tim, it was a grind, man.
Oh, yeah.
We shot most of that summer, and I don't like competition. It's like sometimes you're going against your friends, you know.
Yeah.
And
comedy shouldn't be a competition. Comedy's an art. You know,
I
it's
agree.
like you would not put Picasso up against Norman Rockwell. You know, Norman Rockwell's going to win every time.
Nah, I hear you.
It's I've never liked doing contests, and the Last Comic Standing, I auditioned for it a couple times, and I didn't even like that.
Yeah. No, and they want you to say, like, they want you to go up against your friends and go, I'm funnier than this guy. Like, and you have to say his name. It's like, you don't want to do that, you know? And I don't know. But it's almost like you got to do it to get seen. Like, it's
Sure.
a little bit means to an end to get exposure, you know? And then we went on a 3-month bus tour after that, and that was a grind, like having all those people on a bus. Just going city to city every night. That was hard.
I'll bet after that you had some bad stuff you wanted to say about your coworkers.
Oh yeah. yeah. No, it was a grind, man. It was a grind.
Did when the audition, you went through the whole cattle call thing, right? I imagine that was the line that open mic nights tend to attract a bunch of weirdos to begin with.
Yeah.
But boy, when you tell the entire city we're coming to town, here's your chance to be a star.
Yeah.
It's.
I remember they had me audition for was it America's Got Talent or whatever?
Yeah.
And I think it was in Denver, and it was at the convention center. You walk in there, it was the weird. Like there's a guy playing a trumpet and people like tossing batons, and another guy's got fire. Like it was like you've never seen like such a
circus.
Exactly, yeah. A crazy amount of people doing just all kinds of... You'll never see that anywhere, I don't think. You know? Then on an audition like that.
Was your season of Last Comic Standing? Because I'll admit I didn't watch.
I didn't either. No, I think they did one after ours. Like they did the season after that. And then the next year, they had the Olympics that summer. I think NBC did. So they didn't run it, but then it hasn't come back. So
Okay, so you were second to the last one?
Yeah.
Did they lock you in a house with the other guys?
No, they did that I think season 2 to 5 they did that.
Yeah, it was like combination Big Brother, Last Comic Standing.
Yeah,
That's,
yeah. You know the first one? I remember the first year Dat Fan won, and everybody goes, he's the best comic in... And he won because they let the audience vote, and he cried on TV. Remember that? He goes, oh, like we're from, you know... I think he was from Vietnam, and he said his parents were like they came over in a boat, and
he did an impression that if I did would be called racist and would get me out of the industry forever.
Yeah,
but if your mother talks like that,
oh yeah, then it's okay. What do you think all this politically correct? Like there's some blowback. I know like Dave Chappelle and Bill Burr, they're kind of pushing back against the cancel culture, and I think that's good.
I've been saying forever that the comedy stage is the last 10 square feet of real estate in America where political correctness is not enforced. And it's the correctniks desperately want that real estate.
Yeah. Then what do you got? There's no freedom of speech, right?
Yeah, you can't speak your mind at work. You can't speak your mind in class. You can't, there's nowhere you can speak your mind except on the stage. We're gifted in that fashion.
So I was on, and this is probably politically incorrect, but I was on a flight the other day. It was actually a pretty bumpy flight. And anytime, I'm sure we've all been on flights, right? Like where it starts rocking, it goes through everybody's head at one point, this thing might go down, right? Like, we've all been there, huh? And I was thinking, I go, if I'm ever on a plane and I know it's like, I go, this is it, like, like I got 8 seconds to live. I'm grabbing somebody's boob. Like I don't care. Even if it's the fat guy next to me, I'm getting. If that's the last 8 seconds of my life,
Gonna go down with a handful.
Yeah, man.
I think in one of the earlier seasons of Last Comic Standing, they actually had an open bar because they were encouraging comics that might have a problem to show it. To the nation.
Really?
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
It's but towards the end it got really tight. It got overproduced, and it's when I did an audition in Minneapolis, and they brought in women to sit in the audience in the front row because they were afraid that Minnesota wouldn't have enough cute girls to put in the front row.
They had to bring in women from other states. They were busting them in. Oh, that's funny.
Because I guess they believe the rumors about corn-fed and butter.
Oh my God! Don't be all. Oh, that's so funny. I used to do a joke about this girl that I used to, and it was true. She was from Rhode Island, and she was stuck up, and she goes, I was voted one of the prettiest girls in Rhode Island. I'm like, that's the smallest state. Like, would you beat out like 9 people? It's like saying you're the smartest guy in Walmart. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, under 25, too. It's like 9 women under 25 in the entire state. Everyone else is an octogenarian.
Exactly. Also, that's, I think the first year, I think I did it season 2, and I lost to a stripper, believe it or not. Like there was one slot left. And that's when like Kathleen Madigan got in, and Tammy Pescatelli, like Todd Glass. And then, but the weird thing was, 2 of the guys that were in the audience booked the Tonight Show, so I ended up getting a Tonight Show out of that. Like I lost a stripper, and then but I ended up getting the Tonight Show.
Yeah, but did the stripper do the Tonight Show?
Exactly. Good point. That's right. Then the next year they go, oh, tell Rocky to come back. Like I know he got jammed last year. Like we'll give him another chance. And we were in Tempe, Arizona, and then there was a guy. I don't know if you remember this. He just came out in a gorilla suit, and he was eating a banana, and I lost to him. I'm like, oh, this is getting worse by the minute.
The last time I did it, I auditioned in front of Ant.
Oh yeah, I remember Ant. Yeah,
and it's you get 2 minutes. My setups are 2 minutes.
Yeah, they want.
Yeah, and it's so I start, and Ant just goes, "That's boring," and that was it. And so then I'm walking out of there, and they said, "Yeah, you have to go in the confessional." They had set up this confessional.
Oh, that's right.
That you would go in, and you would sit in front of a camera. And I'm sorry, I really wanted it. I needed it. And he goes, "Yeah, you got to go in the confessional." And I go, "You just told me that I'm not on the show." "Yeah, but you have to go in the confessional."
Really?
And I'm like, "No."
You didn't do it, huh?
Yeah. Am I on the show? Well, no. You just bought.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm not going to the confessional. And then they go, he doesn't want to go in the confessional.
Is that right?
It's like, oh, okay, just a minute. And the producer comes over. And it's like, they say you don't want to go in the confessional. I go, yeah, I don't want to.
Wow.
If I had aced it, I wouldn't want to get in the confessional.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it's just weird. I can't see sitting in front of a camera and maybe this one.
Well, you came out of Milwaukee, right? Are you a Milwaukee guy?
No, I came out of Detroit.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I came out of Detroit. I moved to the city about 86.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, were you living in Wisconsin for a while?
No, I never lived in Wisconsin. I work in Minnesota. I work in Wisconsin a lot.
Oh, okay.
I did all the bowling alleys and bars,
Yeah.
and Holiday Inn lounges of Wisconsin, and
I love Detroit. I got a huge following up there, man. I worked for Ridley and all those all around Joey's and remember those two guys with the bowling Chaplains?
Oh,
East
yeah.
and West. Do you remember that?
yeah. They it was another bowling alley.
Yeah, it was Billy and Bobby. Do you remember those two guys? They were brothers. They ran it was Chaplains.
Yeah, they gave Ridley a run for his money for a while, but Ridley was able to. We're talking too much shop. No one. Chaplains. No, we can't do it. We can't do it in this break. We'll be back in just a little bit with Rocky Report on Rocky LaPorte. That's a different comic.
You're doing that fan now.
We'll be back after this on Stand Up, Sit Down Report.
Hey, good morning, Michael.
Hey, Dad. Did you know that the Egyptians used to worship cats?
And some of these guys just hacked up a fur ball in our driveway.
Did you know that the Aztecs used to play soccer with a human head?
Well, when you're poor, you gotta make do with what you got.
Morning.
Hey,
So what'd you give Mom for your anniversary last night?
nice try, Maria. But I think after 15 years, I know when our anniversary is. It is tonight, right?
Yeah, it's the same day as the start of the Peloponnesian War.
See? And that's why at our wedding, we had the Peloponnesian caterer.
You giving Mom the same sweater you already gave her 2 years in a row? Because I don't really need her in my room all night again eating cookie dough and trashing men.
Better your room than mine.
And we're back on Stand Up, Sit Down. That was the Rocky LaPorte Show. And we are lucky enough to have Rocky LaPorte with us this evening.
Because I'm not doing television. That smash show didn't go over real well.
I didn't see anything wrong with that. We're comics. It's really hard to make us laugh. And if it's something that makes us laugh, no one else is going to laugh at. But that, as far as 90% of what I've seen on sitcoms, that was.
Yeah, it was. You know what I didn't like? Like they didn't let me put any of my own jokes in there. Like when I first saw the script, I go, you just want an Italian guy. They made me. They, what'd you do for a living? I go, I used to work on the docks and load trucks, and I was a truck driver. And they go, we're gonna make you a telephone man. How about that? I'm like, I don't know nothing about, so they give you like these stupid jobs that you would never have or you could never adapt to. And it's like, I don't know. Those like Ray Romano, they let him be Ray Romano. They let Seinfeld be Seinfeld. Like if they let you be who you are, the show will be a success. It was the same thing with Roseanne and, any other comic that they let you be who
Tim
you
Allen.
are. Yeah, Tim Allen. You know what I'm saying? Like if they let you be who you are, but I think they let me put one joke in that whole thing, one or two jokes in that whole half
Which one was
hour.
that? The funny one.
Yeah, exactly. The one they cut out. So I don't know. It was just, and in that year, Les Moonves, who was the head of CBS at that time, I go, this script's horrible. I don't like this, and I didn't even want my name on the show. Like I felt at that time, I go, if I'm going to sync, I want to sync with something that I think's funny, not what so Hollywood thinks funny, because they go on to the next project and then your name's stuck on that stink, Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, and he goes, what's it going to take for you to do this? He goes, he told me that, he goes, this show's going to be on Monday night between Raymond and King of Queens. And I just thought it was crap. And the good thing about that year, the actors went on strike, so they just ran reruns. And then a few years later, I got another development deal. and then the writers went on strike. Like, what are the odds of that happening, you know? So both times it was like...
And here you are, a union guy.
Yeah. I feel like I'm like the Rodney Dangerfield of sitcoms. Like, they go, we're going to shut down this year. Yeah.
So you were actually relieved when the show didn't...
Yeah, I didn't think it was good. I didn't like the pilot, and they tested in Vegas in front of a test audience. And I guess there's a thing called a Q rating, it's like likability or whatever. And I guess I scored really good on that, but they said, well, we didn't like the wife and the son, and you know. But I guess it rated pretty good for, you know, usually the first show out of the box, the pilot, it's not that good anyway. Everybody's figuring each other's relationship out and all that stuff, you know. But it was good to have the experience, you know, and it was good to do. But, man, like, it's something you do all these years in clubs, you know, that it's like, let us, when I was doing Last Comic Standing, Roseanne, she was one of the judges, and one night she called, she goes, you're going too slow. You need to pick up your timing a little bit. And Bill Burr, who I thought, man, he went out on social media and he goes, hey, Roseanne, he goes, that's his act. He goes, that's like telling Stephen Wright, slow down a little bit. They go, that's his timing, you know? Yeah. So that was nice that someone stuck up for me like that, you know?
I like Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, but, you know, it needs a rap break.
That's right. A little rumba in the middle there. Oh, God. Exactly.
So, where did you actually start? I don't think I met you until just recently, past few years. And
yeah, that's something.
We've been working kind of chasing each other around the country. It's last time I was in Minneapolis, I think you were at the other club.
Yeah. And then I saw you at Larry Reeves thing. We had that benefit for Larry, you know. Yeah, you remember the Funny Bone in Schaumburg?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I think that was the first time I got on stage, and then I was working at Big Ed's place, the Comedy Cottage.
Right.
And he was a good mentor. Like, I had to help me out a lot.
It was still Big Ed's Comedy Cottage at that time.
No, Jay was down the street. You remember that? And then Ed
opened
up a block away. You remember that?
Yeah, I do.
And he goes, you want to talk, go by Jay's. Do you remember that? Like, they had that little thing, and they had two clubs. But back then, there was clubs everywhere. Do you remember that? There was like Who's On First.
That's why I moved to Chicago.
Oh.
There were like, and they were all Tuesday through Sunday clubs. It was, so I mean, you could
get on stage every night.
I think I counted about 70, I think I mentioned in the last episode. There had to be like 70 weeks within a 2-hour drive of Chicago.
Wow.
That were like full weeks, like Tuesday through. Yeah, and just Chicago had to have a dozen.
Yeah.
There was a Who's On First, there was a Laugh Factory, there was a
Funny Firm. And the
Three
Improv was
Zanies.
downtown, you remember that?
Yeah.
Three Zanies.
Yeah.
The Comedy Womb.
Yeah.
Remember that? And then,
Comedy Room, Comedy Cottage.
what was the one out by Bill Brady's place? Barrel of Laughs. In Oak Lawn.
That was actually the oldest. And
Is that right?
I think they started doing comedy at the Barrel of Laughs like in '76.
Wow.
And when that closed, when they closed it down, the question that everyone said was, "You mean Bill didn't own that place?"
I know, that's what right?
Because he had been there like 50 years and never said, maybe I should buy this bar.
Yeah. I'm going to Vegas in a couple weeks, and the last time I was there, I was with Brad Garrett's place.
Yeah.
And he was telling me a story when the very first time he opened up for Sinatra. He goes, it was on New Year's Eve in Vegas, and he goes, I bombed. He goes, it was horrible. He goes, all these people were drunk, and they just wanted to see Frank, And so when he got off, he goes, I knew they hated me. He goes, thanks, folks. He goes, you've been real. And he goes, you might want to stick around. He goes, Frank's coming out. And, like they were there to see him. And I guess when he went backstage, there was a couple of Frank's guys. They go, what did you mean by that? Brad goes, I thought they were going to bury me out in the desert because I had to take, for a half hour, I had to explain to them, no, I didn't. I know they're here to see Frank. I didn't mean it. But that only happens, you know what I mean? Like when you're on the road all these years, stuff like that. You know what I mean?
I was John Panette. I was up in the Zanies green room with John Panette and Rick Hewitt, the owner, was up there. And John Panette had just started opening for Frank. And Rick was fascinated by this. He goes, so what's Frank think of you? And John goes, well, he was a little cold.
Really?
So they told him I was Jackie Gleason, and now he loves me.
Oh, that's funny. Really?
And I guess I could tell that story because John, Rick, and Frank are all, no one could verify it. But.
Brad said when he was opening for Frank, by the time he was opening for him, like, Frank was kind of getting a little bit senile, and he goes, he used to call me Greg Barrett. And he goes, but I didn't want to correct him. I was like, oh, man.
So you started the Funny Bone in Schaumburg. Were you? Did you have material when you went up the first time? Did you?
Yeah, you know what's so weird? When I was driving a truck, I used to drive a tractor trailer, and this was before I even knew I was going to be in comedy. Like, if something funny came to me, I'd pull over like an 18-wheeler on the side of the road to write it down. Like, I didn't know where I was going to use it, or maybe at a party or something. Like, I didn't know, but something told me to just write this down, and it seemed like it was supposed to be then, maybe, like, because it. Yeah.
Huh. So you actually had jokes the first time you went on.
It was just about my family, or just stupid stuff, or how bad I was doing in school, and I don't know why. I didn't know where I was going to use it, but I knew to write it down, and I don't know why. I know it sounds crazy, but it came in handy a couple of years later.
So it went well. Your first year, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I was. I went on stage. I remember the first time Big Ed saw me. He goes, "How long have you been doing comedy?" And I go, "About 5 minutes." And he goes, "You want to come on this weekend?" And I go, "Yeah." So he tutored me and bring me along. And then remember Steve and Leo? They would host out there.
Yeah.
They were hysterical.
Yeah, they Space Jam and Santa Claus now. They're very famous, well-to-do writers. But yeah.
You know what I always thought? If a comedy team came along now, I think that they would do really well. Like, even if. Because it's such a novelty, and there hasn't been, even if it was two guys or a guy and a girl, I really think it would be so unique. Like, when's the last time we saw that? Yeah. I think it would do good. You know that? The problem is
when comedy expanded in the 80s, the club owners didn't want to pay double. So the teams were splitting the money, and that's a lot of teams said, this is stupid. It's let's split the act down the middle and make double the money. Yeah. So that's I think that's still the problem. But I think you're right.
I think and kids today would be like unique. Like, I don't think they've ever seen anything like that. Like, we grew up with stuff like that, but
Right. So it was the Funny Bone Schaumburg, and how long before you started doing it full time, before you stopped the truck driving?
I went on stage the first time in February '88, and I had 3 kids at home at the time. And by October of '88, I went full time into comedy. I could always go back to driving a truck. If I'm going to do this, I want to do it full time.
Yeah, and we're probably going to have to cut it right there. That's if you want to see more, you can actually go to the VPOD Roku app, and you can see the uncensored extra bonus. And for those of you broadcast, that's Stand Up, Sit Down for tonight. Hope you enjoyed it.
Hey, how you doing, everybody? Good, Bon Jovi. Listen to my week. I had to go to court on Tuesday. My freaking lawyer don't show up. I end up in front of this judge. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. He comes up to me, he goes, do you have counsel? I go, no, I got a stick shift.
And we're back on Stand Up, Sit Down. Bon Jovi, everybody. We're here on the bonus segment. For those of you who are watching or streaming, watching it digitally, with Rocky LaPorte. And we were talking before that when you first started comedy, you had 3 kids at home, and about '88. 88. Did you went on the road or?
Yeah, right away. I went. I started in February, and in October I was doing it full time. I just went, jumped in. I remember the first gig. It was in Lansing, It was in the Lansing.
Yeah, Connections.
Yeah, and it was that old house. And I remember.
I remember that house.
Remember that place? It was like a crack house.
They had the windows were screwed down.
Yeah.
And there was no air conditioning.
Yeah.
I was booked there in July.
I was there in the winter. Get this, and I remember the headliner slept in the bedroom, and the middle guy was on the couch, and I was on a cot on the back porch, and there was like ice on the inside of those back porch windows. And I remember I was waking up from shivering. Like that's how the MC. That's where you slept at that time. I don't know. I think I don't know if they moved you into the floor or whatever later on, but I just remember this is the road, you know. Yeah, it was.
There's actually a story. I think it was that house. What happened was the first acts they don't know the headliner gets the master suite, the guest bedroom that's the middle act gets, and the MC gets the couch or the floor or whatever, and the MC and feature go there, didn't know the rules, took like the good rooms. The headliner comes in and goes, oh, this is weird. Calls up the booker and says, I don't even have a door on my room. And he goes, just a minute. And he types on his computer, you hear clickety, clickety, click. He goes, you're headlining, right? Yeah, I'm headlining. Clickety, clickety, click. Headliner gets the door.
Oh, my God.
So if you weren't doing comedy, what would you be doing, do you think?
Probably, my grandma shows wanted me to be like the Pope, you know? So, I don't know. I like wearing hats and waving to people. I think I'd be a good Pope, you know? He's got that car. I'd get seats in that car, though. He's always got to stand up. You ever notice that? He's got that bubble car, that Pope.
The Pope Mobile, yeah.
Yeah, like I'd get some nice seats in there, you know? Make it like Elvis's car or something. I don't know. I think that'd be fun, you know? Good way to meet chicks, right? Hey, you want to see the Vatican? You know?
Oh, where's my ring? Where did I put my ring that you want to kiss?
Oh man.
So you went from truck driving to joke driving.
Yeah, pretty much.
It had to be a not much of a smaller vehicle, and you got to park it for longer.
You know what? I remember at that time I was breaking my back, like loading freight, you know, on trucks and driving them, and I was making $300 a week. Well, that's what they were paying MCs at the time.
Yeah.
I go, if I can make $300 a week and not break my back, like that'd be, you know what I'm saying? Like I'd rather do that. Yeah. And then I kind of moved up to middle, you know, real fast. And then during the boom, they were paying middles decent money. Remember that? Like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
And then you get some credits and you headline but I don't know. The road's hard, you know. It's a rough, you know.
Yeah, we've lost a lot of our generation. I think the road took them out. It's hard on your liver. It's hard on your psyche.
Yeah, you're isolated sometimes, like 23 hours a day, and then you're out in front of an audience, and then you go. It's like you're going back into solitary, you know.
Yeah.
And the weird, you know, KP Anderson. I think he might be a Michigan guy. You remember?
Yeah, I know KP.
He was telling me. They hired him to do a gig for like a semi-pro hockey team up in Minnesota. Did you hear this story? He goes, "What do I do?" So after the first period, they sat him on top of the Zamboni and they're driving him around the ice. And he said, "People are just booing me." And he said it was awful. He goes, "It was like the worst gig I've ever had." And
who booked that?
Exactly. Yeah. Who books that? Well, he went to get his check, and the guy goes, "You got 2 more periods to go." He said it was awful. He said it was, and then he said like it was this small town in Minnesota. So after the show, they went to a restaurant, you know, to eat, and then everybody from the hockey game came there, and they go, "Hey, there's that idiot that was on the Zamboni." Like now you gotta see him again, you know.
There's a Jack Benny episode where Andy Williams owes Jack Benny a favor. So Jack's going to get Andy a booking, and he gets him a booking at the opening of a butcher shop, grand opening of a butcher shop, and the two of them had to stand up on top of the meat counter and do their act.
I remember Continental Airlines. They used to have us. Did you ever do that?
I did not do. Did you do that? Did you do one of the airline flights?
That was the worst decision ever. Yeah, they were mostly short flights. I think it was between like Cleveland and Detroit. And you would actually use the mic that the flight attendants use, you know?
Yeah.
And then they would grab it off you and they go, hey, folks, fasten your seatbelts. You're like in the middle of doing a punchline. Who thinks of this shit? Like,
we have an emergency here.
Yeah.
Please, buckle your seatbelts, get the oxygen mask on, and stay away from Rocky's hands.
Yeah. That's right. And nobody would look you in the eye like they'd have their face in a magazine. Like, those were the worst. I remember one time we did a show in Tahoe. It was so bad that, and then sometimes, when you have a bad show, you're like, oh, like you just want to, kind of brush it off, forget about it. Well, the next day they sent a car to take me down to the airport. Like the hotel sends a car to, and the limo driver was telling me how bad the show was from the night before. He goes, "Oh, these people I took out." And I was like, "Man, I'm never gonna get away from this." You know what I mean? But I don't know.
Anyway,
let me ask you this.
Yeah, sure.
I have a podcast, and every week on my podcast, I always ask my guests, "What was your worst show? Like, what was the one?" Everybody's got a worst show story.
Roz Turner used to book a strip club just on the other side of the other side of
Was that
the
in Peoria?
No, just over Wisconsin. Just over Wisconsin. It was an old roadhouse, and the guy who owned the place wanted to bring back burlesque.
Oh boy!
And it was a booking for an entire week, and you'd have to come in every night, and you just went in rotation with the strippers. Oh. So it'd be like it'd be like cinnamon vanilla comic, and then
coming to the pole, Tim
Slagle.
Slagle.
Then TT Galore was headliner, and then you start back with cinnamon, and it would be And it was, I had to borrow, they didn't even have a microphone for the comic. I had to borrow TT Galore's microphone.
Oh, boy.
And I was worried about where it had been.
Now coming to the pole, Tim Slagle. Give it up.
I was like, how much longer are you going to do this?
We open for strippers in a couple different places, and it's like, oh, boy, like who thinks of that, like to put you in those spots, They don't work.
Yeah. Well, this guy he learned how to sew costumes while he was in prison.
Who's this? The owner of the club?
The owner of the club. Wow. And it was when I was getting paid on the last night. He was showing me some of the feather boas that he did himself.
Oh,
that the girls use. He really wanted to do. He wanted to do like an old, which this had to have been in the late '80s, maybe early '90s. He's probably about 20 years ahead of his time, because for a while there, I mean, and I think it still is, our clubs are doing like old school burlesque.
Is that right? Yeah?
Yeah.
Wow. Who books that? Go back to that. I remember I went to Iraq with Drew Carey, Jeff Ross, Kathy Kenny, the girl that plays Mimi on the Drew Carey show. And it was like 2 or 3 weeks before they caught Saddam Hussein. We were in his hometown at Tikrit, and we're on a flatbed trailer out in a soccer field. There's 5,000 troops, and we had to wear flak jackets and helmets, and the whole time you hear gunfire, artillery, like 2 days straight. Huh. Yeah, and I go, you think it's bad here? I was just in Detroit for 2 weeks. All the Michigan people booed me, but everybody else, I know it's your hometown.
Oh, no, dead on accurate.
Yeah.
I grew up, every 5 years they would tell us that Detroit is on the comeback trail, that this is...
Oh, is that right?
This time Detroit's going to make it this time. And so now people are saying, no, Detroit's getting pretty hipster. Detroit's... It's like,
They said the same thing about Cleveland. One time I was on a plane with this preacher, and, I don't mind discussing religion or whatever, but, sometimes when they start pounding it into you, and it was a long flight. It was from Oakland to Chicago. And so he gets real serious with me. He goes, let me ask you something. He goes, if you died tomorrow, he goes, where do you think you'd go? And I go, I messed up a lot. I go, probably I end up in Cleveland. And he shook his head like this guy's an idiot.
Thanks a lot for tuning in. This is Stand Up, Sit Down. I'm Tim Slagle. Thanks again to Rocky LaPorte for coming in and joining us this evening. And we'll see you next week.